is video 6, drawing 6, and lesson 6 of my Inktober drawing and video series. If you have not viewed the Introduction to Inkscape and Zentangles video, you should do that before viewing this, particularly if you are new to Inkscape or new to Zentangles. This video is going to feature the pattern Sindhu. First, I will show you how to create the pattern. Then I will use the pattern in a drawing. This is the pattern Sindhu. If you saw yesterday's video, video 5, you'll notice that Sindhu is very similar to Bales. It just has a few additions. To create this pattern, we're going to use the ellipse tool and the pen tool. We've used the pen tool before. We used it in what I call straight mode, which allows you to draw straight, horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines. We also used it in this mode, the horizontal and vertical mode, which allows you to draw horizontal and vertical lines. This time, for this project, you can use either the spiral path mode or the B-spline path mode. I'll demonstrate both of these modes to you, and so you can see the difference between them. As opposed to straight lines, both of these modes allow you to draw curved lines. So my spiral path mode is activated. So if I click there, and then I drag to where I want my curve, and then I click again. And when I say click, I'm pressing the mouse and releasing it. Then I drag to where I want my curve, I press the mouse and release it. Then I drag to where I want another curve, I press the mouse and release it. This mode is excellent for creating spirals. I can click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, and then press enter, and I have a spiral. I can then click the nodes tool and adjust the nodes if there's anything about my spiral that I don't like. And you'll notice that as I drag my nodes, my line maintains a curvature. Now, let's take a look at the B-spline path. I'm going to click this icon to activate it. You click where you want to start, release the mouse, click where you want to curve, click again where you want to curve, click again where you want to curve, click, 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 click. This also creates curved lines, but the curves are a little bit more gentle. And if you click the nodes tool, you can come in and adjust these nodes to adjust your path, these nodes are not controls, they're nodes. And so this is not a shape, it's a path. But I call objects created in the spiral path and B-spline modes. This is not an official Inkscape term, but I call them hybrid paths because they're not really paths. You can see when I saw the red lines that appeared, that's I actually don't know how to explain what it is. It's just, it's really the outline of the drawing, but this is what you end up with. And here you have these, your curves, the nodes are off of the path. So you may at times need to convert these to a regular path, and you would do that by selecting the object. I'm going to click the regular selector tool, and then, let's see, clicking on the nodes tool, and then clicking this option, create object to path, and then it becomes a regular path. Same thing here. Convert selected object to path. It no longer has those extra lines. It's a regular path. Okay, with that explanation, I'm going to delete both of these. I'll select them both and press my delete key. Alrighty, I'm now ready to create the pattern Sindhu. I'm going to start with my ellipse tool, and my snap to grid is on. I'm going to click on this corner right up here. I'm looking for snap to grid intersection. That's where I'm going to start my drawing. Then I'm going to drag, and I'm going to drag to this corner. This is 2 over and 2 down. And when it says handle to grid intersection, that's when I'm going to release my mouse. So now I have my circle. I want this to be an arc, about 1/4 of a circle. So I'm going to click on the circular control and drag it around until I have a 1/4 of a circle. I think I have that. I'm going to zoom in. Zoom in. Yeah, this could be a little more. Oh, there. I want it 90 degrees. I can make it 90 degrees easy by just putting 90 degrees there. And I don't know, still a little off. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, that's fine. So I have a 1/4 of a circle here. What I'm going to do is click on my selector tool, select it, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Then I'm going to rotate that duplicate 90 degrees counterclockwise and then 90 degrees counterclockwise again. Then I have 2 objects here, this one and this one. I'm going to select them both, and then I'm going to click my nodes tool and convert them to a path. So now I have Still have two objects, but they're both paths. I'm going to, again, select them both. And you can't see it, but there are two nodes here. One is directly on top of the other. I'm going to select those two nodes and then join them. Come down here, there's two nodes here, one directly on top of the other. I'm going to select both of them and join them. So now I have a seed-like structure that is closed in. That's what I want. And then I'm going to come here and click on my pen tool. I'm going to use the spiral path mode. I'll click right in this corner. I'm going to go up 2 blocks and click. Come right to the center here, click. This would be down 2 blocks and click. And then right at the corner here, I'll click again, press enter. Yeah, that looks about right. That's what I wanted. That's fine. Now I'm going to come over here and click my ellipse tool again. Then I'm going to click and drag. I want to create an ellipse. The last time I created an arc, so I'm going to click there to close things up. And let's see. I'm going to zoom in on this. I want to make it a little wider, I think. Yeah, not a lot wider, just a little bit. And page, and maybe a little bit shorter. This is snapping to my grid. This is a case where I want to turn snapping off, and I do that by clicking that, or I should say this icon right here. So let's see here. Make this a little smaller. Okay. We'll see what happens. We'll work with this. I'm going to zoom in on it. Click on my nodes tool and convert this to a path. Then I'm going to come down here. I want this to be a sharp curve. Well, we're going to just like a corner. And this icon right here changes things to what they call corner nodes. So I'll click on it, and you can see it's now pointed down here, still a little bit of a curvature up there. Okay, so I'm going to select this again. I want to give it a black fill, so it's selected, and I'll come down here and click the color black. Zoom back out, and then I'm going to drag this over here. I'll click again, and then I can rotate if I grab one of the corner arrows, and I'll rotate that. I'll come here and put that there. I think I want this to be a little bit taller, so I'm going to drag this up. And that's too much. Yeah, right about there. Yeah, that looks good. But that seed-like shape there. Then I'm going to select that again and duplicate it, and then rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees clockwise again, and then drag it up and place it in this corner. Let me take a look at this. Let's see. I can nudge things. If I hold down my Alt key and use my arrow key, so I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so zoom out and take a look here. So I've got this little, I don't know what you call it. It's not quite, it's not really, sort of like a triangle in the corners. Let's see if we can make that. So I'm going to come down here and grab my pen tool. I'm going to move to what I call the straight mode and zoom in. Then straight mode. Click. I'm going to turn my snapping back on. I'm going to snap to the grid intersection there. Drag down. I'm going to snap to the grid intersection again. Snap to the grid intersection again. Then I'm going to come across. I'm trying to make a triangle. And I want to land right inside that square and then click. That closes it up. Then I'm going to click on my nodes tool. And this has a little bit of, I'll show you, a curve in it. Let's take a look. You can see it's just curved. So I'm just going to grab on this segment and pull it in just a little bit. You can pull it in a little more. Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to undo. Let's see what we can do here. Grab this tool, get to just about the center, and pull it in. Okay, I think that'll work. Alright, so then I want to give this a black fill, so I'll select it and click the color black. It now has a black fill. So I'll select this, and duplicate it, and drag it up here. Probably going to need to zoom in so I can see what's going on. Click my selector tool, click again. I can rotate it by dragging these arrows on the corner. Okay, so I'm looking at this very, very closely, and what I see is this is outside the grid line, this is outside the grid line, everything is outside the grid line, just a little bit. And if you've seen some of the earlier videos, you know, that's going to cause seams when we create our tiled clones. But I'm just going to go with it. So I'll select all of this and click Object, Group, to group it. Then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. Put it here. Yeah. And select it, edit, clone, create tile clones. We want a 90-degree rotation. And I want 2 across and 2 down. Create. That's really not too bad. Really not bad at all, actually. I see a slight seam, but what I'll do is I'll click on this, edit, clone, select original. I'll raise that to the top, drag it out, do my little trick, Alt, hold down the Alt key, and press the greater than key. That solves that problem. Yeah. So if I delete this, this will no longer be a clone. I'm going to delete it. And it's no longer a clone. You can see, you can make changes here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to group this. Object, group. And I'm going to create my rows and columns. I'll put 5 here, 5 here. This time I think I want a simple translation. Selected, and I'll click create. Yeah, that looks good, but there is definitely a seam there. So what we'll do is we'll edit, clone, select original, raise it to the top, and then drag the original out. Make sure we've got the original. Yeah, we do. And apply our little trick again. Select it, hold down the Alt key, and press the greater than key. Yep, that closed up our seam. And there we have it, the pattern Sindhu. So what I'm going to do now is move my sample pattern down. This is my original clone. I'm going to put this over here. Label it as such. Then I'm going to select one of these, copy it, and paste it. Move this down a little more, just to make some more room. So, ooh. These are all grouped, probably because I pulled this out of there. I'm going to have to ungroup it. Object, ungroup. Okay, that's what we want. So move this down. And this is still a clone. A copy of a clone is a clone. And so what I'm going to do, this is unlink this clone and check it. Yeah, now I can make changes to it. It's no longer a clone, so I'm going to label this unlinked clone. Okay. That's it. I've created the pattern Sindhu. I'm going to save it, come back in just a few, and use it in a drawing. Previously, I created the pattern Cubine and Jalousie, and I'll put a link to those videos below this one. Anyway, what I did was I went to those files and copied the unlinked clone. Cubine has its own file and Jalousie has its own file. So I copied the unlinked clone from each of them and placed it in this document. And earlier we created the pattern Sindhu, and I copied the unlinked clone from that file and placed it in this document. I'm going to use all of these patterns to create my drawing. I'm going to start with the pattern Sindhu, click on it, and then I'm going to drag it over here. Okay, I want it to be 120 pixels wide and 120 pixels high. So I'm going to change this number, and notice that my lock, there's a little lock here and it's shut. You click on it, it opens, you click on it again, it shuts. It's shut, and when this lock is shut and you make a change to either the width or the height, the sides of your object will change proportionately. So I'm going to change this to 120. So now this is 120 pixels on each side. I want it to fit in the middle of 4 major grid lines. So I think I've got it there. We'll see. I'm now going to click, I'm going to select it and click Edit, Clone, Create Tiled Clones. I want a simple translation, and I want 2 rows and 2 columns. I'll click the Reset button. That'll set anything that may have been changed on any of these tabs back to their defaults, and then click Create. Okay, so now I have my a little square here. I'm going to select this one and click Edit, Clone, Select Original. That'll select my original. I'm going to move that to the top and pull it out. Check to make sure I have my original. Yeah, I do. And I don't know if you can see it, but I can definitely see it. This has a seam in it, so I'm going to click on the original, hold down my Alt key and press my greater than key. That closed up my seam. I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to move them over 1 block. I want this to be in the center. Yeah, that's 3 blocks over, 3 blocks down on all sides. That's what I want. Then the next thing this doesn't have a border, so I'm going to click my rectangle tool, come up here in this corner, handle to grid intersection. The snapping is on by default. I'm going to click and drag till I see handle to grid intersection. That's what I want to snap to. And I'll release my mouse button. I clicked on my selector tool. Okay, so that's what I want in the center. Then I have Cubine here. I think what I'll do with it is I'm just going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to bring it here. Place it in this corner. I'm going to flip it horizontally. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Actually, edit, undo. I'm going to duplicate it first. Hit the duplicate button. Then I'm going to flip it horizontally by clicking this icon and drag that over here. So these are in the two corners. I'm going to click this one to select it. Hold down my Shift key so I can add this one to my selection when I click it. Click Object Group. Then I'm going to flip these vertically. Oops, I did the same thing again. I'm going to undo. I'm going to duplicate them first and then flip them vertically. Hold down my Control key and drag until they're in the corner here. Then I'm going to take my pattern Jalousie and place it right here. And if you remember, we use a 180-degree rotation to create this. I want one row and 8 columns. I'll click Create, and there's some overflow here too. I want this to fit in here. So this is 60. This major grid block is 60. This is 120. This would be 180 and this would be 240. So I want this. I'm going to click this Object Group, and I want this to be 240 across and 60 high. So I'm going to come in here and change this to 240. Well, didn't quite work out the way I wanted, so I'm going to unlock this and change this to 60. And I don't know why, but sometimes Inkscape isn't precise. I want this to be precisely 240 and this to be precisely 60, so I'll try again. Yeah, now I have it. If you'll remember, when we created our Jalousie, our outside lines were 1 pixel. So what I'm going to do is going to hold down my Alt key, press my right arrow key. You may not be able to see this, but this isn't exactly centered right, and nudge this over a little. Then I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. I want to handle to grid intersection. That's where I want to be. And come down here, handle to grid intersection. That's where I want to be. Release the mouse button. Yeah, and I want this to be in the exact center of that. I can do that this way. I'm going to zoom in on this. Click to select the outside rectangle. Hold down my Shift key and click to select the Jalousie. Then I'm going to click Object, Align and Distribute. And instead of centering this in the page, I'm going to center it within the first selected. So I'll click to center on the vertical axis and click to center on the horizontal axis. It's right in the middle. That's what I want. So we'll just close these out for now and zoom to fit in the window. I'm now going to group those two things. So they're grouped. I'm going to duplicate this and rotate it 90 degrees and drag it so it fits here. Then I'm going to duplicate this, rotate it 90 degrees, and drag it so it fits here. It's not quite where I want. I'm holding down my Alt key and using my arrow keys that allows me to nudge just a little bit until I get it where I want it. And then I'm going to select this again, duplicate it, rotate it 90 degrees, and place it right here. And by the way, this icon, that's the one I was using, rotates 90 degrees clockwise. So that's my design. That's exactly what I want, but I'm going to adorn this a little bit. Ooh. Another thing I forgot. Here, my Jalousie is still in here. See if we can get it out. Edit, clone, select original, raise it to the top, and pull it out. Okay. So there we have that. Okay, so there we have our design. I'm going to adorn this a little bit. I'm going to click Layers to open up the Layers dialog box. This is all created on layer 1. And so I'm going to click on this and then double click and change this layer name to Design. Press Enter. And so that I don't make any inadvertent changes to this, I'm going to lock this layer. I can always come back later and unlock it. And I lock it by just clicking on this little lock here. And if the lock's closed, the layer is locked. Then I'm going to come here and click on the Create a New Layer icon. That opens up this dialog box. I'm going to create a layer and I'm going to name it Background. And I'm not going to position it above the current. I'm going to position it below the current layer. I'll click Add. So now I have my background layer. I'm going to click on that layer to select it. Then I'm going to click this button again, and I'm going to create another layer. And I'm going to name this layer Yellow Box. And we're on the background layer, and I'll place this above the current layer. Just for neatness, I think I'll capitalize that. So, add. Okay, so we have a background layer and a yellow box layer. I'm going to click the little eye here. That'll hide my design. That's what I want to do. It's not gone away. You can open up the eye again and it'll bring it back. It just hides it. And as you can see, everything else that's on that layer. So I'm going to go down here, click on the background layer. That's the layer we're on. I'm going to turn off the snap to grid and turn on the snap to page border. Then I'm going to click my rectangle tool, come up here, and when it says handle to page corner, I'm going to click. That's what I want to snap to. And I'll come down here, and again when it says handle to page corner, that's when I'm going to lift my left mouse button. That's what I want to snap to. So I now have a border. I want to give that a black fill. So while it's selected, I'm going to click the color black, so that now has a black fill. I don't want to inadvertently make any changes to this background layer, so I'm going to click the little lock to lock it, and I'm going to move to my yellow box layer. And let me see. I'm going to close the background layer, open up my design layer. Yeah. I just wanted to check where I need to create my yellow box. I'm going to be on my yellow box layer, and I'm going to leave that, my design layer, visible while I create my yellow box. So I'm going to, this time I'm going to turn off the page border and turn on the snap to grid. And I want to snap to handle to grid intersection, and then come down here, handle to grid intersection. So this is one block down, one block over. Then I'm going to come here and select this color. It's FFEEAA, and click on it. That'll give my rectangle that I just created a yellow fill. Okay, so that's fine. That's what I want. So now I'm going to do something else. I'm going to come up here to Extensions, Text, and I'm going to create some lorem ipsum. This is just jibber jabber text. So I'll click on that. What I have here is 5 paragraphs, 16 sentences per paragraph, and paragraph fluctuation of 4. And I can click Live Preview. And you can see it just creates my jibber jabber text. That's what I want. I'm going to click Apply and close. So I have my jibber jabber text, or lorem ipsum, to be more formal. It's extremely wide and extremely tall. The width of 2,265 pixels and 2,254 pixels for the height, and some odd change on both of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the little lock here, and I want it to fit in this area here. I know my page is 600 by 600. Maybe I'll make this 600 by 600. And so change these to 600. My lock is locked. Press my tab key, and it's been changed, but where is it? Okay. If I click this little zoom button, it'll show me everything that's in the documents. That's what I'll do. And here's my text down here. I'm going to drag it up and put it here. Okay. Zoom to fit page and window. That's still a little large for me, so I'm going to just make it a little smaller. Yeah. Now that's what I want. And if we look over here at our layers, let's see what's going on. It created the lorem ipsum as the top layer. So I want my design to be on top of that. So I'm going to click on the design layer, click this button. It'll raise it up one. So now I have my design. I have my design on the top layer, my lorem ipsum on the layer behind it, so it's behind the design. Then I have my yellow box. Then I have my background layer. Just going to move this over a little, just so it stays inside my page. If I turn on my background layer, because the text is black and the background layer is black, that disappears. I want to give my yellow box kind of an antique look, or aged, I should say, like the paper has been aged. So I'm on the yellow box layer. I just clicked on this, and I could have clicked on this, but in any case, I want to be on the yellow box layer, and I want it to be unlocked. And then I'm going to come over here to filters, and then I'm going to click blurs, and then I'm going to click blur. To see the blur, I have to click live preview. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but it just got a little bit darker around the edges. On the sides, that's the vertical blur. If I want to make it larger, I drag it this way, and smaller, I drag it. Wait a minute, I got that backwards. The vertical blur, top and bottom. But I think the 13 point whatever it was is about right. 13.55. And the horizontal, same thing. It's on the sides, it seems. Seems backwards to me, but that's what it seems to be doing. So in any case, I think the 13.55 is about what I want. And it doesn't have to be exact. There. That looks good. If I just click close, this filter will not be applied. I have to click apply, and then I can close the dialog box. So yeah, I like that. I'm going to add another layer. We're on the yellow box. I want it on top of the lorem ipsum. And I'll click plus. And I'm going to name this one gray border. I want it above the current, so I'll add. Then I'm going to hide my background layer. I'm actually going to hide my lorem ipsum layer too. Click on my rectangle tool, coming 3 down, 3 across, and same thing on the bottom. And when it says, oh wait, I'm not, yeah, this is where I want to be. Also, 3 up and 3 across. and it handle to grid intersection release. Now I want to change this border to gray. What I have to do to do that is hold down the shift key and then click the color I want, and I'm going with 50% gray. And then I think I want my stroke to be a little bit wider. So I'm going to right click on this and click 6. Click on the selector tool, click off. Yeah, that's nice. So then I'll bring back my background, bring back my lorem ipsum, and that's it. I'm looking at this, and there's something about it I don't like. It's these. I'm going to unlock my design. I could leave this like this, but I don't like it like that. I want to select just this. And I clicked and clicked and clicked till just it was selected. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And that was 90 degrees clockwise. I'm going to click this, rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. Click this, click and click and click till it's the only thing selected. And rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. And then click this. And I think this went counterclockwise, this one clockwise. In any case, that's really what I want. And now, my drawing is done. Yeah. Okay, so if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And subscribe. There are a lot more videos to come. I forgot to turn the camera off. So, since I did that, you might as well see this. What I'm doing is I have a drawings folder, and I'm saving this file in my drawings folder. It has an SVG extension, and that allows me to come in at any time and make any changes I want. I'm going to click save. And now we're done for real. Bye-bye.